Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Matthew. Thank you so much for joining. Today we're going to take a look at Apple versus Bitcoin. We're going to look at volume here. But volume, traditionally in the stock market or any market, it's displayed as of the native units that are traded each day. Okay, so with stocks, it's shares, native shares that are traded. With Bitcoin, of course, it's bitcoins. How many bitcoins are traded a day? That's what volume is. So to do a units of comparison between Apple and Bitcoin, I put this in dollar terms, world reserve currency at the moment. And there's a term for that as well. It's called value of shares traded. Since I'm doing Bitcoin, which doesn't have shares, but Bitcoin's value of units traded. Okay, this is volume. It's volume, but it's the value in US dollars. Okay, here we have Apple. Only looking in the last 5 years here, 2019 April to 2024 March. Nothing fancy long term. So here we have just the last 5 years. Nothing fancy, not too long term. April 2019 to March 2024. 5 full years of data here. This is Apple volume in dollar terms. We see some big action here during the COVID meme stock traded home boom times. What was the value? 42 billion here, 40 billion, 40 billion. Those were big days, 40 billion. Maybe some next biggest days, 30 billion. And then what's this number here? 25 billion. Those are still big numbers. But if we look at generally what's happening, and I could do an average, but I'll just eye it for you. 9, 8, 10, some 15s, but there's a lot of 9s. And even before the COVID boom times, there was a lot of 5s, $5 billion a day of Apple traded. But definitely it can be volatile. It can be, 20 billion one day, 10 billion the next, but that's the number. Now, let's look at a percentage of Apple's market cap, how much action is happening here. Okay, this is on the right-hand axis. I'm not going to go through everything here, but basically, if you're looking at the tooltip, you're going to see 0.5% of the market cap, maybe 1% on the big days, 1.5%, 2% on the big days. But generally, 0.5% is what you're looking at as far as value of shares traded divided by the Apple market cap. It's an interesting number. Again, I did a prior video on Apple versus its market cap all the way back. You would see that this number was even higher in the 90s and the 80s, but probably, and many of you commented as well, probably because when hedge funds, pension funds got into the game, they sort of tampered down the volatility. Everybody kind of knew what they wanted to trade. And this is just what it is. $15 billion worth of shares traded daily, 0.5% of the market cap. That's Apple, one of the biggest companies in the world. Let's take off the percent. Now let's look at Bitcoin. All right, value of units traded. Bitcoin is not shares. Bitcoin is bitcoins. Value of bitcoins traded per day. Did you see that? Taking it off. That's Apple. Can you see Apple now? You may not have known this. Bitcoin daily trades worldwide dwarfs even Apple. The value of Bitcoins traded daily dwarfs the value of Apple shares traded daily. You got a huge one here in 2021 February, leading up to the major boom. $350 billion worth of Bitcoin was traded. Pretty massive. And then we go down here. The rest of the time in this period, 2021, 50, 60, 70 billion, while Apple is, again, 11, 10, 12, 15 billion. So multiples more. Bitcoin is multiples more. During the boom times, during the not so boom times, generally at least double. Sometimes not double, but generally double what Apple has been doing recently. Actually, some days have been the same. In 2023, there was also a lot of rough times for the Bitcoin market and the crypto market in general as FTX was blowing up last year. But now, again, you can see daily volume on Bitcoin double, triple, quintuple. Yeah, 50 billion versus 10 billion. Not a rare event. So it's pretty interesting. You might not have known that. Now, I want to reiterate with Bitcoin again in case you get confused. This is volume. This is on exchanges, worldwide markets that are relatively transparent. This is on exchanges for Bitcoin. This is not Bitcoins that are sent across the network. That is transaction value. That's actually way bigger than this. But that would be compared to payment value of monetary base money, Fedwire, those things. That's completely different. This is trading of Bitcoins, and often that's synthetic Bitcoin. That's not, DeFi, decentralized exchanges Bitcoin, although there is some of that in this number. Taking a moment to remind you that this show is brought to you by Trezor, home of the original Bitcoin hardware wallet. For over 10 years now, Trezor means business in Bitcoin security and functionality. When using their wallet software Trezor Suite to connect to the Bitcoin network, you're automatically connected via Tor, protecting your identity and giving you full control of your coins in a fully open source manner, both on the software level and on the hardware level. So head on over to Trezor.io to grab your Trezor Safe 3 with a secure element, Model T with a touchscreen, or the original Trezor 1, as well as a ton of available accessories to back up your keys and keep your coins safe. This show is proud to be associated with Trezor. This is volume. All right. Now let's put as a percentage the value of Bitcoins traded as a percentage of the Bitcoin market cap. This is even more interesting because it's much higher still, as you would expect, much higher than Apple. Let's look at today. Okay. Pretty constant here at a 2% of the market cap value of Bitcoin traded. On a normal day, maybe 1, maybe 5, but generally you can see, you look at the tooltip there, 2.5 is what it is. So again, if Apple is 0.5% and Bitcoin is 2.5%, by that metric alone, there's 5 times more activity on the Bitcoin network than there is with trades of Apple. Okay, and Apple is just one stock of many, many stocks. Bitcoin is one cryptocurrency of many cryptocurrencies, but pretty much all of them are dog water. So let's remove the zoom here, and let's go back out here to the meme stock days. You can see it was even much bigger. Again, this is volume, synthetic Bitcoins mostly, but you could get up to this day in March 2020, which was, the world was ending. 72% of the Bitcoin market cap was traded in one day. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts for volume. But it settled down here, and even during the boom here, the first of the double top in 2021, except for this one day here in February, wasn't too crazy. But it's still 9, 10, 20%. That's an order of magnitude still more than Apple. So, bottom line, this is where Bitcoin's volatility comes from. This is the source of it. This is visualizing it. Without even looking at the price, we can see that compared to, one of the most liquid, deep stocks in the world and largest cash flowing companies in the world, Apple, Bitcoin dwarfs Apple's trading volume and thus the volatility. That's where it comes from. So if you're wondering when Bitcoin might be less volatile, when it becomes bigger is the answer. But still, Bitcoin is a pretty big asset in and of itself. And for that, and to see a little bit more on these percentages, I have a new table on my website here. I'm going to take you over to the top monetary assets worldwide page. This is porkopolis.io/top money. Here we have the top monetary assets: gold, silver, Bitcoin, the top 10 fiat monetary base currencies. I'm not going to go over this right now. We have some breakdowns of physical currency versus bank reserves. We have gold breakdown, how much gold is in central banks, silver. This is all in the website here. But down here, what about stocks? I have this section analyzing stocks a little bit. Again, Bitcoin is certainly not a stock, but if you want to make that comparison, I've done it for you right here. This is the top 10 stocks in the world in Bitcoin. And by the way, Bitcoin will be number 7 on that list if you have top 10 stocks in Bitcoin. But look at this column right here. Units traded daily, percent of market cap. This is where you can see the difference. And you can see most of these, if you just look down the list, are 0.5% or under, maybe 1% Meta. There's only two that are where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is at the moment, and this is April 5th, as of the day of this recording, Bitcoin is 2.8%. Value of shares traded divided by the market cap, which is $1.32 trillion. NVIDIA is the only one that comes close. And NVIDIA, of course, had a massive skyrocketing in value over the last year with AI and a lot of controversy around chips and everything else. NVIDIA, 1.7% value of shares traded. TSMC, also a big chip manufacturer, much less, and they're a U.S. traded market. So that's interesting. NVIDIA stands out there. The only other one here that would compare and say the top 15 stocks is Tesla. Tesla is a top 15 stock, but it's not a top 10, so they're not here. They also have a pretty high value of shares traded. But again, you're only talking 2-3%, where Bitcoin has and can get up to 10% of the market cap. So that's the volatility. That is where the volatility of Bitcoin is. But still, valuation-wise, it's a top 10 stock. It's a top 10 base money. It's a mega asset worldwide. And on the flip side, if you want to see illiquidity, then you have to look at Saudi Aramco. They're a top 4 stock, $2 trillion stock, but you can see the value of units traded daily, not even $1 billion, $170 million, and that rounds to zero as far as value of units, value of shares traded as a percentage of the market cap. So very interesting, illiquid oil company here in the top 4. The local currency, of course, is not even in dollars. This is on the Saudi markets. Saudi Aramco, last price, roughly, if you were going to put it in dollars, was $8, but it is in the Riyal, is the local currency of Saudi Arabia. So that's the top 10 stocks in Bitcoin. That is how to look at Bitcoin's value of shares traded versus the market cap compared with Apple. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care.